Hi there, hope you're having a pleasant day wherever you may be. It may not look like it, but I'm checking out some ruins. I'm at the West Bench Pueblo site in the Vermillion Cliffs. The West Bench Pueblo is located between the towns of Page, Arizona and Kanab, Utah, on the western edge of Vermillion Cliffs National Monument. So what exactly is the West Bench Pueblo? Well, these are the ruins of ancient dwellings made by ancestral Puebloan people who used to live in this region of the United States, in like Arizona, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, that area. And they're responsible for a lot of dwellings in this region. It's believed that this particular one was inhabited between the years of about 1050 AD and 1150 AD. This site was discovered in the late 1960s, and by the time they found it, it had been pretty badly vandalized, pretty much looted, all the ceramics and things like that. Around the early 2000s or so, they've led several digs and excavations here. They've found hundreds, if not thousands, of different shards of things. They've also found animal remains. And another interesting thing is they've also found that one of the parts of the pueblo was built on top of an older pueblo, so it shows that they've been reusing this site in the past. Not a lot of info on that though, so I don't know how far back this goes. So when you get here, there's a little information kiosk that gives you a little bit of information on the site, some information on the excavations, including a map, which is actually kind of helpful. Because it kind of gives you a rough idea of the shape that you're looking for. And if you look just beyond the kiosk, you can see this section here. This seems to be the most intact part, which is saying a lot because the more you go, it just looks like kind of a mound while you're walking around. There's really no set path or anything. So just be careful, just watch where you're stepping. I just kind of followed where I saw other footprints because the sand is really soft here. Now, for what this site lacks in physical structure of the pueblo itself, it makes up for with its own sort of charm, its sort of ruggedness, because it's a little bit off the beaten path. It's a little less visited, so there's more sort of a wild element to this, and that's sort of demonstrated by you find flat rocks like this where people have that have explored here placed what they believe to be shards of like pottery and things like that. Now I'm sure a fair amount of them are not. I'm sure they're just pieces of sandstone that broke off that were flat and kind of have the appearance of pottery. But when you find one like this that's kind of curved and looks like it's probably the lip of something, it's hard to imagine this not being pottery. And to me, that is really cool because I've never been to a site where there was actually things you could find. Now this one was found for me, but just walking around, just looking at the ground, there's a lot of flat pieces of rock. Like I said, a lot of them are probably just sandstone, but I picked up one that had a little curve to it, and one side had kind of markings on it. One definitely had markings that didn't appear to be natural, so I think I might have found my own piece of pottery. Now that brings us to a very important point of discussion, and that's that anytime you're visiting an archaeological site, it's important to treat it with respect. Most of the time that involves just not vandalizing, not graffitiing, things like that, because usually they're well visited or they've been visited many times in the past and there's nothing to steal. But here, it's a little different because there's actually things around here. There's actually shards of pottery that are very tempting to want to take home, but resist the urge, don't do it. Take your pictures, admire the moment. And matter of fact, they even discourage picking things up because when you pick something up, you disrupt that historical record because if archaeologists come to take a look, they use the location of things to help determine the storage, but I'm sure little shards here and there, it's probably no big deal to pick it up, examine it, but just put it back where you found it. So as far as getting here, like I said, however, I came from more the Marble Canyon area off of 89A, but you could also take Route 89, and either way, you're going to end up on House Rock Road, which is a dirt road, and you're going to be on that for like 10, $13 or something, no matter which way you go. So you're going to spend some time on a dirt road. Eventually, you turn off on BLM Road 1100 and drive like a mile or so, and you'll see the sign for it. But speaking of signs, this place is a little tricky to find because there's no sign on House Rock Road for when to turn off. All I saw was a little rock cairn, and who knows how long that'll be there. And then there's really not even a tag on Google Maps for this place, so I had to use the coordinates that were on the Bureau of Land Management directions to get here. So yeah, it was a little tricky to find. I actually passed it and had to turn around once I miraculously got cell service, so I was able to reorient myself and find it. Well, that does it for this one. Thanks for joining me on this trip to West Bend, Pueblo in Vermillion Cliffs National Monument. Hope you found it interesting. I know a lot of times when I visit these sites like this, I don't have a lot of information to provide, but still, that doesn't make it any less cool to visit. So with that said, I hope you had a good time, hope you found it interesting, and maybe if you're in this area, you might want to come check it out yourself. So with that said, I guess I'll see you on the next one. Unfortunately, the wind has not been my friend on this visit.